Recording. Let's have, yeah, carousel. Let's have a look at both of you. Right, we've got this on record for Stu as well, because bless him, I think he turned up on Tuesday. Let me get this right. So, new theme. Hopefully everybody can hear me. New theme for the month. A little bit of feedback from some people. So we're going to have a look at hamstrings again, and that will be our running theme, and hip external rotation. That will be our midweek session, and the weekends will be slightly different. I think because we've got such a small group at the moment, if you're interested in doing or having the recordings from any ones that you missed, you guys have been very loyal at the moment. So just send me that link, just send me the message and I will gladly do that on payment. Okay, just to run through this, we're going to look at hip external rotation positioning. So we've been doing a lot of homework on internal rotation, and I gave that to, oh, look at Baz in his new gym. Lovely stuff. And so today we're going to follow the same sort of thing, which is we're going to explore a position, we'll give you some homework, and then we will keep adding towards the sessions. Obviously new positions today, so I will be having to give you more instruction, and just be patient with that. Okay, so after we've done hip external rotation, we'll talk about the homework. Then we're going to look at hamstrings from a long knee position. Okay, your sort of classic hamstring stretch, how to find and target different areas of that stretch, and then put in the pails and rails, and then some of the other stuff that we put in, like passive range liftoffs, etc. Then we're going to look at knee flexion, because it's not just what goes on at the front, but also what comes, sorry, not goes on at the back, what comes on at the front, all right? We'll talk about a couple of positions for that, and then get the capsular cars, which was that kind of swinging of the leg. When we did hip stuff, you can actually do it for the knee as well. It's what we do, obviously, at the beginning. If we've got more time, I'll add more in, all right? But when we go next week, we will revisit this stuff and then add in the next piece, and then add in the next piece. So hopefully you realize that the sessions we were cramming a little bit more as we went on over the month of August, okay? So if you don't have it right now, a strap or a towel might be a good idea, or a yoga block, or some padding. So if you don't need that, it gives you 30 seconds just to go and get that. So if you don't need it, if you don't have it with you right now, hopefully you guys have got your kit for any time that I might throw it in. But if you don't have it right now, then yeah, here we go. He's got it. Lovely stuff. Okay, when Emily's back, we will start with our lower body cars, and we're going to start from standing up today. Shoes off, Baz, just so we can get into those toes. Oh, Emily's got the phone, and we're coming back. Now, I confess, guys, if I don't look like I'm attacking this quite as hard as you, then I ended up doing a 2-hour session. Thought it would be a good idea to walk 20-minute walk with 36 kilo kettlebells there and back, which wasn't a good idea. Right, oh, here we go. So lower body cars, toes, nice plant of the feet, tripod, ball of the foot underneath the big little toe, and here, all toes up. Drive the ball of your toe, the ball of your foot down into the floor. Really try and get a spread on. All toes down. Big toes down, little toes up. Don't roll in. Okay, try and keep that nice tripod down. Little toes down, big toes up. In an ideal world, those big toes would be coming up straight, not coming into the side. That might be a different day. Down, all toes up. Give them a little spread. Push all toes down. Then again, all toes up. Try and get that spread on. Down. Big toes down, little toes up. Little toes down, big toes up. All toes up. If you have no idea why your one toe doesn't move, I can't see you actually. All right, talk to me afterwards or send me a message and we can get you some exercises that will help with that. All right, standing up. Out in front of you, you're going to externally rotate. Oh, sorry. Evert the ankle out to the side. Keep everting it, because you then come through the middle, through the point as hard as you can, and then through, roll the foot, and then back up. Obviously, this is a slightly different position than we normally do it. Okay, all positions are fine, or they're all legal, all right, as long as the intention is clear. So biggest circle we can get with the ankle, not moving anywhere else in the body. So I don't want to see that knee coming backwards and forwards. It's just through, all right. Other side, ankle, evert, go into plantar flexion, roll the foot back up, through the middle, and then back the same way. Inversion, through. Oh, finding that quite tough actually. Evert, round, through. Ooh, see, I got spat out then. Nice. Okay, let's get down on the floor because that's where we'll be starting anyway. Get into that knee position. So hands underneath, you've got that pulley system underneath. All right, you've got, as we externally rotate this tibia joint and the whole shin rolls to the outside, we're pulling down on these hamstrings. These ones will be getting work today. Back through the middle and then inversion using the other side or the inside as we come in. Tibia, big toe moving together. All right, external rotation. Internal. Other leg back in. External. Internal. Pulling on those hammies. All right. External. Internal. Lying on your side. I think these hips are going to stay the same. I'm going to do my left first, just because I always do my right. If you want to, you can always hold on to something here, maybe a yoga block, a kettlebell, whatever you've got to hand. That gives you a little bit more close here. All right. Exciting news, guys. I inquired about a space that might be my own. So I'll have to get out of the lounge. It's exciting, isn't it? In, extend back, up, through. I'm always interested to hear not only feedback on the individual sessions, but progress that you guys are making in your own practice. If you are practicing these, I know some of it, at least all of you here, have got at least one recording. Hopefully, if you've got the one that I sent you on YouTube, on the YouTubes, then you are able to watch that over and over again. Have you noticed the difference in, your ability to perform the task within that session? The intentions, are your cars getting easier? I know that I'm probably on a, what am I on now? Like a 30-day streak, and also my specific mobility program. And I can just tell that this just feels a lot better. If I stop doing it for 5 days, the old popcorn sensation comes back in towards. So I'm always interested in hearing about that, guys. So send me a message. I want to hear about your progress or questions. Up and through. Right. Your friend and mine, the 90-90. Now, Baz, I know that you've got this groin issue. So let's just get set up first, and I'll talk through position for what we're going to do for external rotation. But before we do that, I'll talk about the internal. We were very much on this back leg, trying to negotiate space in this area, finding that underneath and in that top pocket. We looked at this, and then we gave you the homework to try and expand your repertoire of being able to get access to that breathing and all the such, okay? 90-90 also has a front leg, all right? And we're looking at trying to get a stretch of the hip capsule of the front leg, all right? Now, because our intention is now front leg, if this back leg is a problem, all right, because you feel like you're going to cramp there, you can just bring it in or bring it in, all right? Let me turn this way for you. Now, some people will be able to sit nice and tall here. Other people will feel like they need to come out to the side or maybe lean over. Because the leg is the fixed point, your position of your body is sort of your responsibility, as it were, okay? So you don't have to fight for the same position as me. get comfortable. The sensation we're looking for is in the back of this hip. It's a little bit more superficial than than the back leg. When you're doing the back leg, you very much feel like you could be right inside, like in all of that stuff. I have found that when I'm doing this, it takes real skill and practice to get really deep in. So a lot of it is going to feel like it's sort of on the outside of that hip. You can get it more internal, all right, but it does take a little bit of practice. All right, if you feel like it starts quite localized and then it's spreading like down your leg or into the hamstring, back out and try and reposition. Okay, so how can we get a stretch in this posterior tissue, okay, without having to just lean forward, okay? Because there will be some of us out there that are quite flexible, all right, and they'll be like, yeah, I can't feel this stretch. Well, you should, if you have good body control, be able to, regardless of your flexibility, be able to find the stretch from a pretty vertical position. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to try to go tall. You're going to posteriorly tilt the pelvis, right? So what that means, you guys can just stay in that position now, is stick your bum out, all right? That kind of sticking out. I know that some of you have been asking me questions about that pelvic tilt. That's what I want. I call it the Betty Boo bum, all right? I want you to stick it out. That's the first thing. That might give you the stretch that you're looking for, okay, in that posterior tissue. Next thing you can do is not just think about that, but actually think about pulling the belly button forwards a little bit, okay? It's not a lean from the hips, it's an actual extending through the abdomen, all right? And then you can start thinking about maybe not just sticking your bum out, but actually pushing it backwards. So it's almost like it's sliding backwards, okay? If none of this is making sense, you can also talk to me at the end, all right? If you've already found some of the stretch stuff already without having to do all three, great, all right? You're there now and you're just breathing, okay? As with any stretch, in order to connect to it, you really need to, what do you need to do? Breathing helps, maybe eyes closed helps. You may never have seen the inside of a cadaver's hip, or certainly your own hip, but you can imagine where two bones meet. Get that in your mind, get that imagery there, and that's what we're looking for, all right? Try and stay long through that spine, okay? Bum sticking out. If you really can't find it, then you can start. Once you've done all those two things, maybe you need to lean forward a touch. Maybe it's a rotation a little bit, all right? But we're trying to avoid at this moment just being like, well, the only way I can get it is down here, all right? Let's look for a little bit more body control. So a couple more nasal breaths. And that's all we're going to do for today on this leg, is just the passive stretch. And that's your homework, is to become a ninja at finding that stretch. And when you find it, being able to stay there for 2 minutes, nasal breathing, without fidgeting, and then coming in, coming out. We want you to be passive range, end range, and breathing into new space, just letting go of that tension, getting past the nervous system, okay? Other side. Don't be surprised if you have one side and the other that's different, okay? I certainly do. So when I go to this side now, oh, that was actually pretty good for my bad side, all right? So here again, you can start in that 90-90. If this is a bit of a problem, focus on the front, okay? Focus on the front leg. Get rid of this. Maybe you need to prop yourself up a little bit, lean away, okay? Once you're settled, we're facing forwards, okay? Rotating that hip. Now for me, because it's a lot more, there's just not as much room on this side for me. I don't need to lean forward at all. All I need to do is stick my bum out, keep my chest centered over the middle of my leg, and I've got it. My main focus now is to just not fidget, because it's not as comfortable for me. I tend to kind of sway in and out. Hands down into the floor. Pelvis tilts back, belly button comes forward. Okay, maybe raising the chest a little bit. A rotation to the right, if this is your right leg, a rotation to the right might help. As I said, if you find it traveling into the hamstring or down the leg, come back a little bit and then go through the rest of those points. Breathe. Stretching is as much of a skill as your intention for the pails and rails. Because if I move my leg slightly out to there, all right, or bring it in, there's not just one tissue. There isn't just one capsule. It's little bundles of fibers. And within those bundles, there's another bundle, and then there's another bundle. And you can get down to individual muscle, myosin, actin, those bits that contract, right? Might be a little bit ambitious to be able to find the little active microscopic myosin and actin, all right? But certainly you can be very specific with little changes in position. So your homework for this week is to keep doing this every day, if possible, and to hold a 2-minute stretch. You can experiment with this, with that, but I want it front leg, back of the hip, no fidgeting, nasal breath. All right? Wicked. We will then, in subsequent weeks, add in the pails and rails as we have done on the other stuff, and then get back into those capsular cars. But that took me a little bit more in terms of explanation. Okay, so we're talking about now hamstring work from a long leg position. Now, some of you who've been working with us for a long time, you may remember back in early, sort of late July, early August, I was at the in-laws, and we were looking at a position something like this. All right. So the idea here is to load this tissue back here, okay, from this half kneeling position. From the front, I'm here. Ooh, there we go. All right. Now, where I have my leg depends on what kind of, which tissues. Again, there's not just one thing in here. The hamstring is a group of muscles, and within that is another group of fibers and bundles and stuff. So if I have my leg slightly out, that will change it to slightly in. Lengthening can be different. I can load them with a spine that's round. I can load them with a spine that says chest up, bum out. All right. I'm going to encourage today to look at side on, okay, a soft knee, okay, so it's not completely locked out, and that Betty Boo again, all right, that's sticking that bum out, that posterior pelvic tilt. And the reason I'm asking for that today is not because it's particularly special, it's more because it actually suits us for the other exercise that we just did. So we're getting a bit of consistency. I appreciate you can't see my head here, all right, but hopefully you can hear my voice. Stick the bum out, take the belly button forward, and then lean forward to load into these tissues. So that now you're getting that sort of classic hamstring stretch, okay? If you're a bit wobbly, get your arm out to something and hold, okay? If you're fine, learn to direct the stretch to the fibers you want to do it to. You shouldn't need to lean too far forward, all right? You should stay back here, think about those things, tip it out, pull it forward, lift the chest, okay? Nasal breath. Let's talk about pails and rails. So for those of us who are looking for length, okay, you would stay here for 2 minutes with the breathing that we're doing now, and then we're talking about pails and rails, okay? Pails in this instance is to drive down into the floor. That loads the tissues underneath, all right? That loads the tissues on stretch already, all right? Lift up, and we're going to go through percentages. Rails is the opposite. It's all the stuff on the regressive angle. So pulling in and trying to lift the leg up, all right, off the floor. You're not going to get anywhere near, all right? But what you can do is think about having a tangerine in here, an egg or something, and try and pop that egg. In fact, if you put your fist in there when we do the rails, as long as you can feel contraction of the quad muscles, that's good, all right? This is a new position. It's not going to be as familiar as some of the other stuff that we've done, all right? You don't need to be as extended as far forward as me, okay, if you can get that stretch from back here. In fact, I can. So this is kind of not required. All right. We're focusing on these tissues. Take a breath in now. Close the hip. Stay loaded on those tissues you've just been passively stretching and start pushing the heel down into the floor. 20%. We're just building up to 60% today. 40. 60%. Bring the rest of your body up to 60% now. So abs, a little bit of tension into the fists. Keep it there. We're going to go quite long. Shorten the breath, but keep it nasal. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Try and lift your leg off the floor and pull yourself forwards deeper into that stretch. It's going to get pretty gnarly in here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax that tension down. Stay here if you're comfortable. All right. If you're like, man, I can't do another one here. Remember, the intention is this. So we don't necessarily need to be in that exact position. All right. So if you're suffering with your knees, stay there if you can. If you're suffering with your knees, you're welcome to go or practice this in your own time. You could look at putting a seat, using the sofa, standing in front and lifting up. Okay. It's the same thing because this is the tissues that we're trying to work. Okay. So if that makes sense to you and you're like, okay, fine. I'll try that in my own time. Happy days. If not, you're going to go for a second round where you are. Take a breath in. Keep that stuff on stretch and start to drive that leg down into the floor. Keep the sticking out the bum, pushing down. 40%. 60 and hold. Bring the rest of your body up to 60. Tight, driving down as if you're trying to pull that leg backwards. Stay on the tissues you wanted to stretch. 10 seconds, keep driving down. 5, 4, 3. Take your thumb, put it in the crease and try and lift your leg up. Try and get that top of the leg on. Four, 3, 2, 1. Ramp it down. Bring it right down. See if you can push into a bit more range. All right. Okay. I'm going to go from that. Take a couple of breaths. Set it up on the other side. Now, we talked in sessions about not trying to mirror exactly the position that I'm in. All right. Or if you can see anybody else on the screen, the position they're in. All right. Think about what we're trying to achieve here. So the feedback from the classes was, it's the same bloody leg. Let's try some hamstring stuff. So connect with your hamstrings. All right. I've given you the intention of, I want hamstring stuff from a lengthened position. Some of you are going to need to bring that leg back in. That changes it. Some of you are going to get more length. That changes it. I would start with a stretch in the belly. Okay. Some of you are going to want to be foot down. All right. Some of you are going to want to be toes up. All right. Connect with something that makes sense for today. Stick the bum out, lift the chest, pull the belly button forward. And let's just go into some nasal breathing now. This is the same passive stuff that we did in the 90-90. So once you get onto the good stuff in the belly of the hamstring or wherever you want it, try not to fidget in, out, all about. Stay there, nasal. should be localized into the hamstring. If it's traveling hot down your leg or in the front of the shin, you might be sort of on the nerve. Now, nerves can be stretched as well. They're part of all of that connective tissue. But let's try today just to get it into the belly of that muscle. So you might need to change the bend in your knee, change your position slightly to get it away from that hotness in the back of the knee. 5 more breaths. Breath in, start your pails down into the floor, drive down 20%. 40. Give me 60% and stay there. Tension into the rest of the body. 4, 3, thumb in the crease. 2, 1. Try and lift that leg up. Bring it on slow. Stay on those tissues. 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Stay where you are. So you've got a bit more stretch. For me, dominant leg this side, all right? And it's easy to get carried away and go back to that light switch, okay? Go from 0 to 60, 0 to 100%. If I do that for me personally, I get a lot of stuff going down the leg into that nerve that I just talked about. It goes into my shin. I backed off a little bit and then I got back control, focused on this regressive tissue, all right? Not focusing on the stretch, focusing on what's going on here, and that stuff came with it, all right? Another breath. Second round of pails down into the floor. So driving that heel down. Load these stretched tissues underneath. 20. 40. That bum sticking out. 60. Bring the rest of the body up to 60. Hold. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, thumb. Think about all this stuff on the top. Try and shorten it. Tense the quad. Pull into the hip. And then start to lean forward slightly. Stick that bum out more as you pull up with all this tissue. Abs tight. 4, 3, 2, 1. Whew. Okay. I'll read. Passive range lift-offs for that stuff. So we created a bit more room. Now we're going to do some stuff lying on our backs. Okay. I'll show you the initial position and then we can then talk about modification after that. All right. So lying down, we'll work the first leg first. Whichever leg you used first, that's the one we'll begin with. How about that? Rib cage down, leg straight. And what we're looking at doing is getting that length in the hamstring. All right. I will allow, not allow, you don't have to be locked out completely straight. All right. If you had a little bit of bend in your knee, you can have a little bend in your knee this way. All right. You may decide that you want to do it with a completely straight leg, in which case that's absolutely fine, but just set that intention first. All right. The idea is to set the knee angle, pull as much as you can to your end range. Okay. Regressive tissue here, and slowly release with the hands, trying to keep your leg there actively. So you're using all that stuff here. And relax back, okay? If you want to, you can do it from here and the same thing. right? What you need to be careful of if you're going to have one foot is that you don't pull yourself into spinal flexion. So those back hip bones have got to stay on the floor, and your intention has still got to be stretching the hamstring. If you come too far and you start lifting the spine off the floor, it's no good to you. All right, we want to train the hamstring stuff. Lying back, take your hands at the back of your leg, set the knee angle, and pull yourself into the stretch you want. Tighten up the regressive tissue, so all the stuff in your quad that's going to help you stay there, and slowly release the passive support. 2, 1, hands back on. And slowly release the passive support. 2, 1, relax. Other side. If you were struggling with that and you're struggling to connect, you can use strap or towel, all right, and do your old classic one from here, all right? That's absolutely fine. You'll find that if you go with the strap, you'll be able to more easily do the stuff with a straight leg, all right? If you're not interested in that and actually you felt like the regressive tissue was working well for those hamstrings in this position, then that's absolutely fine. Take a breath, pull yourself, lower back stays onto the floor, pull yourself up. Feel that stretch in the hamstring. Slowly release the passive support and try and stay there. 2, 1. Oh my God, you can see my leg shaking. 2 to go. Pull. Take your breath. Hold. Relax. Pull again. Breathe. Oh man, you can see how tired I am on that big session. All right. So, why do we do that? Well, your hamstrings want to work when you're in your deep ranges of your hips. Okay. So often people feel like they've got tight hamstrings. Sometimes they do have tight hamstrings. But what is that tightness? Is it a neurological tightness because it's unsafe? Is it actually because you just don't have the strength in order to justify that load? Is it the fact that the stuff on the other side of those hamstrings is too weak in order to pull yourself into that stretch? So you can feel there, we're working the regressive tissue to make that stuff stronger so that it can handle the stretch and the loaded stretch in the hamstring. All right? Okay, 4 minutes past 7. Let's go and let's talk about knee flexion from the prone position. Okay, again, there is not only one way to do this, all right, but we will do it from face down to start with today. Okay, so if you have a block, you can do this face down. You don't have to have a block, by the way. All right, I'm going to start with my right leg. Hopefully you can get straight. All right, and the idea, if you have the block, is to have the block between the legs and then pull your foot towards your bum. All right, now this is the passive element to it. Sorry, this is the passive element to it. So we don't want it pulling into that low back. Stuff that we're trying to get access to is the stuff going over the knee and into, okay, into the quad. All right. So again, if you're struggling because you've got little T-Rex arms or you haven't got the shoulder extension that you need to get back here, you can use a strap to pull at the knee. All right. If you're like, this just feels awful for me, then we can find different positions. You can do it like in the sofa stretch, although that tends to be a little bit more advanced. Because if you don't have the length in the quad here, you're going to find it very difficult to not be kind of pulled that way. All right, so we do find that the one on the floor, certainly initially, should be okay for the majority of us. All right, so I want you to pull your heel to your bum. And try and get it away from the low back. All right. How do we get it away from the low back? Well, you can start to tilt the pelvis a little bit. It's not necessarily squeezing your bum too hard, but tilting the pelvis ever so slightly. All right. Again, just like with the first exercise we did and the hamstring stuff, the stretch or the passive stretch part is a skill. You will have to learn how to do it. You will have to learn how to target certain tissues. You'll have to know when you're sort of beating the wrong drum to a degree, and maybe you have to change that position. All right. If you can't do this without that leg coming out to the side, maybe we need to start thinking about changing. All right. That's why we put the block in the middle to give you some feedback. What I want to do now is, if you haven't already been able to do it, we're now going to talk about the pails and rails from there. Okay. So let's assume that we've all been holding here now comfortably for 2 minutes. The pails, okay, is going to be to push against the resistance as if you were straightening the legs. The rails, this is where the hamstring comes in, is to try and actively pull that foot towards the bum. All right. So I'm very conscious at the moment, actually, that these headphones are pretty shit. So it's, when I'm off them and I'm down here, it's a bit muffled. So let's just go with pails and rails now. All right, and then we'll all be a little bit more clued in next week. So, pulling in, take a breath, rotate the hips into the floor and start pushing against the resistance. So try and straighten the knee. Build it through 40%. Your heads can be down 60%. Hold it there. 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep your hand on, and now try and actively squeeze your hamstring and pull your heel to your bum. 4, 3, 2, 1. And slowly relax. Okay. Now, imagine that we would obviously do multiple rounds of that. Okay. If you didn't quite get it there, again, something that you can practice. Hopefully you guys have done this enough now where you can think, okay, well, I can start to kind of use the system in a way for anything, my little index finger or whatever. All right. So when I'm doing that, the tough one stretches in the top of my leg. That's what I'm pushing against. I'm loading when I do my pails. And then I slowly ramp up. So I'm getting all that hamstring stuff to try and close that angle. I know for me that if I go too hard, I'm going to squeeze my bum too much, or I just get it in my calf. All right. Again, be careful with the dial. Now what we do is we lie down and take the same leg into 90 degrees and then start doing the knee cars that we would normally do on the floor here. So it's that movement, except instead of it being closed chain, where we're now connected to the floor, it's now an open chain movement. So we've got to connect with those hamstrings for that rotational element of the knee. Okay, so face down now. Take yourself to 90 degrees and rotate at the knee the same way we do in our cars at the beginning, and see if you can then connect with the hamstrings that you just trained. Through the middle and then to the inside. Through the middle to the outside. Outside again. Inside again. Outside again. Inside again. All right. Now I want everybody to go into the passive stretch and pails and rails on the other leg. All right. I think because there's a lot of explanation in today, what I'll do is I'll send you all this video because I'm recording it for Shu, and you can all practice it again. And basically in this movement, do the 2-minute stretch, okay? And then do multiple pails and rails rather than just the one that we're doing right now. Then you will better connect with that stuff at the back, all right? So face down, squeeze the block if you need. Into the stretch, connect with the tissue on the quad. Imagine we've been here for 2 minutes. Close the chest. Take a breath. Now start pushing against the resistance in your arm. Try and straighten the leg. Keep going up to 60 and hold it if you're not already there. 3, 2, 1. Switch and start dialing up tension into the hamstring. Pulling that heel towards the bum. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Extend to 90 degrees and then go into your knee capsular cars. Open chain capsular cars. So take those toes out towards the outside. Think about the hamstrings you just moved. Inside. Outside. Inside. Outside. Inside. Outside. Last one, inside. Okay. Slowly come out of there and have a seat. Right, what can I say about that? The reason I've gone into a little bit more explanation there is because at the moment there's just the two of us, or two of you plus me, all right? And so I've got that. You guys have been here before, and I'm hoping that you appreciate just that little bit more detail rather than just being like, right, change of exercise and here's a class. And what we're trying to do, and as the class sizes are smaller, we've got a great opportunity, is to actually try and invest more time in teaching the system rather than just turning up to a yoga class and being like, okay, I wonder what we're doing today. You start to connect between pails and rails on hamstrings to pails and rails in forward, all right? And then you start to realize, oh yeah, shit, I could, like there are no set positions. It's just about trying to think, what do I want to train? Is it rotation? Is it linear? Is it hamstring? Which part of that hamstring? Because the more capacity and the more variety you give your body, the better, all right? Because, I know, Emily, you're still playing, right? How varied is rugby? Like, just doing loads of Romanian deadlifts, that's great, all right? But it's only one way. What happens when you have to go that way and hip extend? Well, hopefully it's going to be fine. But if you train in these positions, then it will get better. At the moment, what we're doing is getting awareness, all right? So if you didn't feel some of the stuff that I was talking about, let me know about it. If you're confused, then it's fine. If you've got experience from other positions being like, I just need to practice it a little bit more and just go over it again and it will come, that's also fine as well, all right? So what we'll do over the next coming weeks is add in more. So you will have benefited from being here today. So next week, those people who weren't able to be here won't get as much explanation because I'll want to get through multiple more pails and rails. I want to get through more of the stuff, all right? So, but I will send this to you, and if you want to give this one a go again and try and get into some of what I was saying rather than what we actually ended up doing, that would be great as well, okay? 16 minutes past 7. Thank you very much. I hope to see some of you on Saturday. If you're not, can't be there, but you want it, let me know. If not, I'll see you next week where we add stuff in. All right. Love, peace, and chicken grease.
Thank you.
That's all right, Emily. No worries.